It's another beautiful day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to Man Up. Hii ndio kikao ya wanaume. This is where we sit down and talk about issues that are affecting men in this generation. And we don't just talk about the issues affecting men. We also come up with solutions so that we can grow men. This is the place where we sharpen one another. Iron sharpens iron. Now, studies have been done about work-related stress. And apparently, a good number of men undergo stress and even get into mental health issues because of work-related stress. You know, we've heard over and over again, mwanaume ni kujikaza kisabuni, you know, and so you hit the road running. Maybe you have even two jobs you're doing, or a job and a side hustle, and the stress that comes with work. And sometimes we don't know how to handle that stress, and we take it to our homes, and it affects our relationships at home. It affects our health. So we need to talk about work-related stress and how to deal with it. I've got guests in studio with us today to help us with this conversation. First and foremost, we have Muthagani Muya, certified professional executive and career coach, and a human resource specialist with over 25 years experience. Bwana Muya, how are you doing?
Thank you.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
It's good to have you.
Thank you. It's good to have me here too.
Awesome. We also have Richard Magoma. Richard Magoma is an award-winning HR, leadership catalyst, life coach, corporate trainer, moderator, and events MC. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm fine. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited.
You're full of life, my friend.
Yeah, we must provide those solutions to people, yes.
Men need those solutions.
Yes.
Okay.
And being happy is one of those solutions.
Okay. Yeah. I can see you're in for a show today.
Yes.
We also have Nchebere Muryuki, who is a counseling psychologist at Purpose Counseling and Wellness Center. He'll also be part of this conversation. Karibu sana. It's good to have you. And we also have teacher Moses Onyango. He is a fitness instructor. I think we need to have a conversation after this in private. Karibu sana. I'm just curious, gentlemen. Maybe I'll begin with you, Richard. When we talk about work-related stress, do you think men are more prone to work-related stress than women?
Yes.
Why?
The reason, the thing is, we have been conditioned that men should not express being overwhelmed. Men should not express being burnt out. Men should not show that they do not have competencies. Men should not confess vulnerability. And if you do not have these skills, the psychologists will tell you, if you do not have these skills of being vulnerable, if you cannot confess a problem, you cannot solve a problem that you do not have. And the culture has indoctrinated us that men should not confess weakness, because when you confess weakness, it means that you're not manning up. You're not manning up.
Yes.
So stress or burnout in workplaces tends to affect men because they do not own up. And even we are told that it takes a lot of time for a man to go to the hospital to get treated. It takes, in fact, men are very cynical going to see a psychiatrist or as a counselor because of cultural teachings, of cultural perceptions that if you confess your weaknesses, therefore you've reduced your manhood a big low. So it affects, stress affects men more in workplaces.
Because we keep it to ourselves.
We keep it to ourselves. We bottle.
Is this both in the informal sector and the formal sector, or just the formal sector?
It's both, but more so in the formal sector because one, there are expectations. And men are supposed to feel like they have achieved, they have performed. So the expectations are still higher. So they also like compare if they have actually achieved, they think somebody else will think they are less of man or really out of their expected roles. Okay. So there is also that perception also where the man is also supposed to deliver more. And they also want to feel that really I have played my role.
Yes.
So men feel like if you have not done what you're supposed to do, you have not made it. You are not man enough. It may be misconceived but it is also very, very true to that extent. In the informal sector, it's also true because it is a very erratic field. Today, you may go home with something, like we all go out. If you're in informal sector, you may not sell, you may not get the deal you wanted, yet at home, people expect you, the society expects you just because you run a certain business, whatever level it is, for you to show that you are making it. So when that does not come out, then man feels like, well, I'm not like so. So there is an element of a perception about not being as good as I should, which whether sometimes it is misplaced.
Okay.
And so in both ways, there are many other factors. And also how we also supervise and ask demand of others to perform their duties, that can also contribute.
Okay. I just want to rope in our psychologist into this conversation and ask, what then would you say are some of the telltale signs that somebody is undergoing stress in their workplace?
Okay, one of the things that we need to notice first is poor or difficult sleeping patterns. And why it is because it is when we go to sleep, that's when our body and mind go to be repaired. Chemicals, hormones, and so many other functions happen whereas we are asleep. And I believe all of us seated here, we've gone to sleep when we were so tired. And if you had a good night rest, because there's sleeping and good night rest.
Yes.
If you had one, you will wake up the following day energetic, full of vigor, thinking clearly, and there is no fog. You just wake up, hit the ground, and you start doing things. And the other times, you're so slow, even waking up. Now, if you are aware, if you know yourself, you can notice, of late, I have not been sleeping. Now, from a disturbed sleeping pattern, it now extends to other symptoms. Maybe you become grumpy, and I'll borrow his word, a drop of a feather.
Yeah.
You've somebody's jaw with you.
It's called laying on of hands without prayer.
We can say that. Then you notice you are irritable. You notice you don't like going even to work, and it's a common statement. It's Monday blues.
Yes.
There's nothing like that, absolutely. It's an indicator. Pressure from work. You're getting stressed. You're getting burned out. And that's why you don't want to go to work. So this becomes some of the things. But we start from sleep. We go to drinking. We go to habits. We go to behavior. And we can go on and on and on.
Wow. I'm just curious then.
Yes.
What would you say from a HR perspective? What would you say are some common reasons that lead to stress in the workplace?
Well, that's a very good question because one, let's say we all say we need to work so that we can also gain what we call our freedom to live. Like somebody said, yes, work is freedom. And some of the factors that bring stress, there are many. And it's important also to distinguish what the difference between what you call pressure and stress. There will be pressure at work to finish assignments.
Deadlines and all.
Deadlines, unexpected work. So that will always be there. It is inevitable. There is no place of work where you will be going and you just be sauntering and doing your own things at your own pace. So pressure is there. But some of the things that can bring stress in the workplace can be, one is, are you competent enough to perform the job that you're supposed to be doing? If you're not competent or don't have the skills, it could give you stress because you'll not be performing it as expected. So what you'll be attracting is a lot of criticism from your boss.
Teacher Moses, I'm curious, from some of the reasons he's mentioned, are those some of the things that made you go from one employer to another until you started to doing your own thing?
I think for me it was just driven by passion. Since I'm passionate about physical activity and exercise. And at the same time, the ability to, think independently. So for me, it was more of a passion-driven kind of an element.
Okay.
That now resulted to me now being a fitness coach, or a dance coach actually. And I identified what he's saying, because most of the people don't get fulfilled, especially in the place of work.
Yeah.
So that lack of fulfillment can result actually you being stressed, because there's that fulfillment. Because anytime you're doing anything, there's an element of self-fulfillment that needs to rope in. I was just talking to Daktari here, and just telling me about how he made a decision from, like the last 7 years. He went into psychology. Why? Because he wanted something that can be able to bring that fulfillment and purpose-driven.
Okay.
Okay. So my story is different, because mine was more of what can I do to fulfill this empty void that sometimes I end up doing what people want me to do instead of doing what I want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pastor, can I say something on what you have said?
Please do.
Before you ask me a question.
Please do.
Forward-looking organizations these days have decided to say that, yes, there is the question of profit. There are questions of policies and whatnot. But organizations that have become very successful, they've brought in the aspects of purpose. Not only profit, they bring in purpose. Because when you have purpose, you get fulfilled, as the dancing coach has said. Because you can be doing well in your career, but you do not know why you were brought in the universe. And remember, at our workplaces is where we spend most of
the
our
time.
times.
Yes.
And if you are not fulfilling your purpose, why you were created, chances of you getting hopeless, chances of you feeling helpless are very high if you do not know your purpose.
I was going to ask you, I find that sometimes it's like, do they call it a catch-22 situation? Because as a man, you need to provide. You need to provide for your family, you need to take care of them. And where you're working is very stressful. It's not like you have the luxury of just walking out because each job is going to stress, you will still need to pay rent, you still need to pay school fees. And so you're in a place where lazima tu nikae. I have to do this job for the sake of my family. But this job is strenuous and stressful. How do you navigate in a situation like that? What do you do?
Thank you, Pastor, for that. Because for every problem, we must search for solutions. If you're stressed, if you're burning out, thinkers and researchers and scholars have discovered ways of managing stress. If your boss gives you a lot of work, it is important for you to use assertive communication and ask, which work do you need first, so that I can finish it, so that I do not have a situation where I'm delegated with a lot of work, and then when the time comes for delivery, I'm not delivering. Not because I'm incompetent, but because I was not able to be assertive enough and say which one comes first so that I can start with it. All right? You know, there are things which are urgent, there are things which are important. So you have to differentiate which strategy you should use. So when you communicate assertively and ask which one is important, you know, a phone call ringing is urgent. But you to read for an exam is important. So you have got to prioritize. You have got to have time management strategies, all right? You have got to utilize your time in a way that it shows that you're intelligent.
We need to take a break. You're watching Man Up. Tonight we are talking about work-related stress. Kama kawaida, I'm giving you just 1 minute. Ukimbie jikoni, uchukue maji, ukunywe, upunguze level ya stress. You come back for the second part of this discussion, so keep it Family TV. Tomorrow, on This Is My Story, when misfortune befell, Joseph became a candidate to rejection.
Mzae alikataa mambo yetu, familia ilikataa mambo yetu.
While trying to come into terms with the bitter truth,
nimengoja hii kifo sana, nikaona haifiki. Sasa nikaona tuna option. Ni kujikubali sasa.
As a young teenage, he lost his mobility, but not his faith.
Mtu anaweza kuondokea lakini Mungu hawezi kuacha.
Don't miss out on This Is My Story tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Welcome back to Man Up. Tonight we are talking about work-related stress. And we have some questions from the studio audience, so we'll begin with that on this second part. You can tell us your name and ask your question.
Good evening. My name is Marvin Ibrahim, and I first want to appreciate the panelists for allowing us to draw from their deep wells of wisdom, knowledge, and experience. I have two questions, one for the HR practitioners and another one for the psychologist. The first one to the HR practitioners is, are there legal protections for people who may want to quit their jobs or take a break from their jobs because of work-related stress? For instance, if I feel like I'm stressed at work, can I ask my boss to give me a break? And if they refuse to give me a break, are there channels for legal redress that I can seek and follow? The other one is to the psychologist. Are there personality traits that sort of predispose you to work-related stress? For example, phlegmatics and melancholics sort of bottle up their emotions and the feelings and pain. So could people with these personality traits be more predisposed to work-related stress? Thank you.
HR.
Thank you very much for those wonderful questions that you've directed to HR professionals. There's something we call constructive dismissal. Constructive dismissal is when an employer or within an employment setting that situations are created so that you cannot work well or function very well. You're being deliberately. It is calculated for you to be stressed. That one you can quit and institute legal proceedings against your employer. If the environment is so toxic that you cannot survive, maybe there is sexual harassment which is prevalent. There is, if it is promotion, it's not done in a methodical, scientific manner, you can sue for that. And we call it constructive. It is not within the Employment Act, but there are legal precedents, decisions that have been made by judges, by magistrates, that you can quit your employment if it is presenting an environment that you cannot optimally function very well. All right? So you can be able to sue your employer because of constructive dismissal. Another thing is the human resource profession of 1960 is not the present one. If you come to me and tell me that, Richard, I'm stressed, I cannot perform optimally, that is something that needs medical or professional attention. I can give you permission to go and recuperate or get attention, right? And if I refuse, we have our, the institute that manages, you can report a HR person who is not behaving according to the protocols of the profession. Those are the two things that I can be able to bring. I will let my friend and coach Muya to add other things to it.
Thank you very much. That's a very important question. One, the first thing I would like to state is that every employee has got certain rights which are actually bestowed by various laws of this country. On the issue of stress, it must be demonstrated or signed off for you to be allowed to be like on sick by a registered practitioner, either a registered psychologist or a medical doctor who might say this person is suffering from a certain form of we can call it in terms of mental health, therefore unable to discharge the duties for this period and undergoing this. So that is a legal redress. So you can follow on that. But most important is that as an employee within a working environment, it's important to understand also your rights. And the rights are not confined to the labor laws. They are also enshrined in the Constitution, which guarantees you certain freedoms and rights to be treated in a certain manner. Like there's so many laws, again, is what are your basic rights, what are also, the other one is that there's so many other laws that protects various cadres of people in working environments. For example, if, like what he talked about, there is something about sexual harassment. So if you are a lady, and Pastor, I don't know how we miss the ladies in the audience,
Because it's man up.
Yeah, because it's man up. Maybe they had something to say. Yeah, but you can look at things that cover that. Issues of disability, issues of children's rights, issues of safety. There are laws that cover those. And therefore, if your stress is arising from any one of those, like you feel discriminated against for whatever reason, because the Constitution says against all forms of discrimination, ethnic, religious, physical, abilities, health.
Mr. Muriuki, is there ever a situation where the work environment becomes too toxic, you'd rather walk away? It's not worth it.
Yes. And I will, in some point, agree with you. I, as a man, I am supposed to protect and to provide.
Yeah.
And where I am is the only place that I can get that. That is when I can still stay. But the years of walking out, it's when I, as a man, realize my employer will not use me when I am not, as Richard said. He wants me at my best. So he doesn't have any love for me. He only interested with what I can offer.
Yeah.
That means we are not in a fair engagement. I know if employers are here now, they don't like what I'm saying. But the truth of the matter is not that we are darling. It is, I can provide, I mean, I can offer this, I have this intellectual knowledge and so on and so forth. And they must maximize, use it to their best of everything. Now, that's where I come in. Do I know I? If I ask people when they come for therapy, the first step I go is, who are you? And they always tell me, I'm a father.
Yeah. I'm an accountant.
I don't want to hear that. Who are you? In terms of your cognition, do you know yourself? Can you define yourself in terms of yourself internally without anything external? Because being a father is external.
Yeah.
Being an accountant and everything else is external. Now, when we are at that space, then we can say, I am more important than what I am earning from here. And this individual who can say that, he can walk out and in less time he will get something else. But when they don't know themselves, when they don't have an identity, then they will stay. So yes, you can walk out of a toxic space, and yes, you can remain in a toxic space. Most of the times, employing spaces are not friendly.
Mr. Muya.
Yes.
Would you say there are certain industries that are prone to more stress? And if yes, for the men who work in those industries, how then do they shield themselves from that stress?
Yes, certainly all workplaces have different demeanors. So some industries are more likely to provide more stress by the nature of the operations or the expectations or the obligations of those jobs. For example, if you work in a hospital, you are likely to work more like what I would call in a stressful environment. Why? In a hospital, it is not predictable. So you ask a doctor, you ask a nurse or whoever it is, they handle things except that doctor who sits at the casualty receiving people. But at any one time, they expect something unexpected. They can be called at any time. You are not per se in control of your time in as much as there is a schedule, a shift and all that. A nurse is dealing with the unexpected. A patient was stable at a particular hour and they were told monitor for this period, but before that period, something happened to the patient. So there are jobs that are more demanding. The other one is people who work in tech industry. Why? Is because in tech, it is like it is now. It has to happen now. So And some things, either they have deadlines or they just come. Let's assume you are working as a systems operations person in a company. You don't know when the computer systems will just start misbehaving. So I know I can give this example. We used to say, what to IT, we know you. You just sit there looking at screens a whole day until when something goes wrong. That person tells you, we have not slept for 36 hours.
Yes.
So, and because of the nature of tech industry, it is like it has to happen now and immediately. So this, I can give a few of those examples,
Okay.
but there are many others. So don't take for granted when you walk into a place and somebody seems to flare up. And sometimes we do flare up, but you start studying now. This is something you can do.
Yeah.
Where do people tend to flare up more often? So like never try to joke with a policeman
Yes.
who is carrying a gun.
Yes.
Just be polite and candid with them.
Nyenyekea.
Nyenyekea pole pole. Never joke with a conductor. That guy woke up at 4 or 3.
I'm telling you.
That's why he can throw you out of
Eh.
the vehicle. So a bit of that. Some jobs will create more stress for reasons of the operational demands. So if you are a preacher and really you are passionate about preaching, I mean,
Yes.
you can't get stressed about that,
Yes,
okay?
yes.
But if you just went there because you are told, go to St. Paul's, your granddaddy was a church elder, your
Even you.
father was this, a deacon, wacha tukupeleke huko. You'll be the most stressed evangelist.
Lakini saa zingine hata wahubiri tunakuwaga na stress.
Yeah.
Waumini wakikataa kutoa tithe. Must remove your tithe. There's something we need to talk about before we wrap it up. How does, because some of us tend to bring this stress from work and we bring it home. So how does this affect our marriages? How does this affect our families?
Thank you, Pastor, for that question. There is, I think the psychology will tell you that it's called displacement or misplaced aggression. Sometimes, if you're the director of an organization, you shout at me, I feel bad.
Yeah.
I can do you nothing because you're the one who pays my money. You're the one who pays my salary. I will go to my wife. I'll cause her problems because that is the easiest target. The wife, this person I'm living in his house, or kids, you know, the kids, this is our mom who cooks and there's nothing we can do. They go to the dog. And the dog would say, I can't do anything about these kids. The dog goes to the cat. The cat goes to the rat. It is displaced. Aggression, stress is displaced, can be displaced. That if you are stressed, pastor, I must make sure that you have a bit of it. All right? Because I do not, it is a coping mechanism. Not because I want you to be hurt, but it is a coping mechanism. A coping mechanism. So it is important for us to know when we are stressed, the signs, such that coach does not get affected by my stress. All right? Knowing the signs, knowing the solutions, so that I cannot ambukiza wafanyakazi wengine.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
All right? So it is important for us to know that hurt people hurt other people.
Very true.
All right? If we don't heal, I'll cause problems to our psychologist, I'll cause problems to our dancing, because we live in the same environment, because I do not know how to manage the stress.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll finish this conversation by you, Teacher Moses. Umekuwa umenyamaza sana. Nimeona umeandika notes mingi.
Ameandika.
Umeandika notes mingi sana. You want to release a book, my friend? Talk to us a bit as we wrap up about positive coping mechanisms. Because nimesikia exercise ni moja. You know, how does that help and what other things can men do to be able to relieve stress? Because the truth of the matter is there will be stress in our working environments. We cannot eradicate it kabisa. And as long as we are dealing with people, issues will always come up. So how do I find something to help me cope, something that is positive?
All right. Yeah, thank you very much. Exercise is one of them, which is a very big contributor to release endorphins. Endorphins are feel-good hormones, so anytime you exercise, you release them, and that is one area of coping up.
Mimi niki-exercise bona sisikiagi vizuri.
Inadepend kama umeenda hard or soft. Yeah, but that is one area that people are normally encouraged to really work out and keep fit, because it's like a holistic way of keeping fit, your body, mind, and soul. Right, so you feel that relaxation.
Okay.
The other part is also being, getting people who are your peers, social people who are around you, who actually can be able to impact maybe positivity in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because actually Dr. said that most of the people, like men, for them to go and release their stress, they go to bars, But you can get positive friends, people who are maybe, for example, if you're a Christian in a cell group.
Yeah.
And you're able to open up and talk about what exactly you're going through and some of the things that you're encountering, as a way of just, when you share something, it's like a problem half solved. The other way is also, if you're a family man, find a place called solace, where you're able to work out with, not even work out, but just have a way where you can be able to, talk to your spouse, open up to your spouse freely what you're going through. Like me, I have 3 kids and my wife. So anytime, sometimes I have a hard time outside there, the first place I go is to pour out. I say, baby, this is what I'm going through.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening. I've tried this, I've tried that, it's not working, And that I find solace in really opening up and releasing whatever I'm going through. And actually also maybe playing around with your kids.
Yes.
It's a way of just, forgetting about what exactly was happening in the day, but just becoming the little baby in you and just having a great time with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have to shut it down. Wanaume, hii stress, tuache kuibeba. Let's find people to talk to. And the stress at work we should not bring at home. I read the story of a pastor who was taking a visit to somebody's home, so he picked him from the office and they were going home. When they got to the compound, the man went and stood next to a tree, and he seemed like he was unpacking some things from himself on the tree. And the pastor was wondering, what kind of ritual is that? And when they entered the house, he was a completely different man, full of joy, excited to see the wife and the kids. And later on, the pastor had to ask, what was that all about? And he said, oh, that's my stress tree. The stress I carry from work, I leave it there before I enter the house. And the funny thing is, every morning when I come out, that stress is no longer there. That's all for Man Up tonight. Thank you for joining us. Until next week, do have a great evening.